I'm not a cancer imposter, but other people had it so much worse. I'm so fortunate for that, count my lucky stars every single day, but it becomes too much, all this pink. That's why I kept telling my husband, we're aware. Now let's do. Like, what can you do? And so fund research, like the call to action always bugged me. And I bought, my kids' high school had some cute pink shirts and I, with their school name on it, whatever. I bought those because they were darling. So, I did partake in some of that, but as a marketing plan, it gets obnoxious. And if you have a story behind it, like one year there was one of the cheerleaders' fathers had pancreatic cancer and the cheerleaders made purple ribbons for everybody. That's their ribbon. And they're passing them out at the football game. There's relevance there. Right. And so if you're wearing, pink socks on the football field, what's the relevance? What are those stats that support why you're doing that? How many women do you know who were diagnosed early, late, died, whatever? What are those stats that made you compelled to wear those pink socks on the football field? So those kinds of things weren't always there. And that's where it becomes this shallow marketing effort and not a real punch. There needs to be another call to action. So
I'm Candace Rodarty. This is Gratitude Geek, the podcast where gratitude fuels your business. Our guest today is 30-year marketing and public relations veteran Leslie Smith. We are talking about cause marketing, a powerful strategy to grow your business in 2026. Welcome, Leslie.
Thank you so much.
So tell us your story.
So I started my own consultancy business in 1994, and I had been working for association marketing and for association management companies, and then worked in an advertising agency and so various things. So I started my business when I got married and said, this is what I want to do. Sort of bootstrapped it. What do I need? Computer, printer. I'm good to go. Chamber of Commerce membership. We're good. Bank account. And just started doing small business marketing, really focused on them as well as nonprofits. And in association management, we had done a lot of charity work out in the community. So these are, collective impact projects from many people in a certain industry. So I'd worked with a board of realtors. I'd worked with engineers. And they all want to be able to say they're making an impact in the community. And it's good for the membership. It's good PR, et cetera. And so, all of those people were 1 and 2 person firms. So for me, my coming into my own business was always about these small entrepreneurial offices, solopreneurs, taking matters into their own hands and working with nonprofits. And so cause marketing has been a thread through everything. I've worked with 30 different industries, but the community relations element has always been there and that community outreach, and it's a perfect pairing. So here I am today to talk about how you can put it into your 2026 marketing plan.
Define what cause marketing is.
Sure. So cause marketing is doing something for the benefit of a charitable organization. You're picking your favorite charitable organization or issue in the world that you care about that aligns with your mission. It needs to make sense, or people go, why are they doing that? That doesn't make any sense. So for instance, if you are a counseling company, coaching or something, you might be seeing that there's a major issue with mental health in teens, especially, right? Suicide rates have risen. It's crazy what's happening to the teens of our world. So you may pair with an organization that's a charitable organization that gives teen counseling to teens who can't afford it otherwise. So that would be something that you could build around. So maybe you have a day of counseling, or you do a needs drive. You build a PR campaign essentially around that charitable organization and that cause. And then it brings you both up, right? High tide lifts all boats. So that's the aim here, is that you're aligned, you're doing good in the community, and you're making a difference outside of the regular difference you do by exercising your mission every day.
There are 2 paths that I want to go down. The first is I want to talk about the pinkwashing of breast cancer awareness and how, even though it did impact millions of people in a positive way, it was still kind of gross. So there's a balance in how you do your cause marketing. And then I also want to share with you about Podcastathon, which is an event that happens worldwide every February. So let's do pinkwashing first. Do you
Okay.
know what I'm talking about?
I do. Like pink everywhere kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. It's a little
Yeah.
obnoxious. Yes.
So I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2014, and that year I went to my local grocery store and there was a pink mop and a pink broom for sale in October. And I just wanted to vomit because I thought, what is this? What are we doing? I mean, I even saw pink lunch meat that year, and it was out of control
And it wasn't
10 years
ham.
ago. It is so much better now. The result of breast cancer awareness is that it's 44% less women die today than did 10 years ago. So it has really impacted, but it was gross. So talk about the balance.
I had a double mastectomy in 2011. So I'm with you. I'm extremely fortunate in how everything turned out. Diagnosed early, sought aggressive treatment, which my doctor supported, and I bypassed a lot. I call myself a cancer escapist. One part of that is I didn't have to go through some of the grueling things that other women have had to do or live with the rest of my life. Like you have to go through, right? And so in that way, I'm like, I didn't have that as much of a horrible lived experience as others have to go through. I had to take tamoxifen for a short time. I didn't have to go through chemo. I didn't do radiation, right? I had surgery. I'm not a cancer imposter, but other people had it so much worse. I'm so fortunate for that, count my lucky stars every single day, but it becomes too much, all this pink and and the awareness step. And that's why I kept telling my husband, we're aware. Now let's do. Like, what can you do? And so fund research, like the call to action always bugged me. So, and I bought, my kids' high school had some cute pink shirts and I, with their school name on it, whatever. I bought those because they were darling. So, I did partake in some of that, but as a marketing plan, it gets obnoxious. And if you have a story behind it, like one year there was one of the cheerleaders' fathers had pancreatic cancer. And the cheerleaders made purple ribbons for everybody. That's their ribbon. And they're passing them out at the football game. There's relevance there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so if you're wearing, pink socks on the football field, what's the relevance? What are those stats that support why you're doing that? How many women do you know who were diagnosed early, late, died, whatever? What are those stats that made you compelled to wear those pink socks on the football field? Mm-hmm. So those kinds of things weren't always there. And that's where it becomes this shallow marketing effort and not a real punch. There needs to be another call to action. So here's the awareness, right? And just the stat you gave that, far fewer women die from it now. And what did you say, 44%?
It's 44% fewer women, yeah.
That's fantastic. And so then the call to action is fund those organizations. And here's the ones that do research. Here's the ones that give services once diagnosed. Here's the ones, the teeny ones that will come into your house and clean your house for you. So there's multiple supports. And most of those nonprofits have come from a situation where they found a gap in services for their mother, their sister, their cousin, their grandma, right? There were things that they couldn't do and they couldn't find a resource for, so they filled that gap. And those kinds of things, bring those to the forefront. So in October of 2026, if you want to do a breast cancer awareness thing, tie it to something relevant that you've seen or that your employees have experienced and make it meaningful. Have depth to your cause marketing. Don't just do it because it's the trend. You need to bring some relevance to that and make sure you have a clear call to action that helps move the needle. They're aware of it. They're aware of self-breast exams. And then what? What else needs to happen? What are the gaps that are still there?
Shouldn't there also be an audience message fit with the cause that you choose? I mean, if you're a plumber, are you going to choose prostate exam awareness? I mean, what? That's actually not a bad one. I just made that one up. That's not a bad one. But, there should be an alignment with either the values of your company or the values of your clients.
Exactly. Yes, you're exactly right. And for a plumber, like if his wife had breast cancer, then that might make sense.
Well, and the
And
story, I mean, marketing with
yes,
story is so impactful. So the
exactly
plumber
right.
sharing the story of his wife. Yeah.
Yes, yes,
Plumbers
that
can be
would make
women
it.
too.
Yes, they can. And I think many, well, I don't know about this. I mean, I think old times where there's more women staying at home, that they were probably the first person who calls a plumber,
Mm-hmm.
depending on the household. Like
Mm-hmm.
if there's not a man who's handy in the house, then it's probably the woman calling the plumber. I'm always the one calling the plumber. So speaking to your point, the plumber needs to look at that data.
Yeah.
Who, they do say that more women make the decision about buying a car than the men in the household.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
Right. So
Yeah.
look at what the data says and then match that. So and trust your data and collect data so
Yeah.
you have that data. And if you're in a big industry like plumbing and that kind of the plumbing association or something must have some sort of data for you or urge them to keep that for you.
I think cause marketing and story marketing go hand in hand because the more heart-wrenching your story or the more emotion evoking your story, the more impactful the message.
Yes. People remember it. So they're like, I heard a story, or was it a movie, or did I see it? Did I read an article? But they remember the story. And
Mm-hmm.
so there was this woman, and she, was sure that something was going on with her breast, and her initial doctor said, no, it's nothing. And then she had to push, and then it turned out by the time she was finally diagnosed, it was stage 3, and her family was distraught. And then they went to blank organization who took care of and added medical advocacy for them or something, right? So then they remember the beats of the story,
Mm-hmm.
and it gives them something they can relate to very quick. So there's 2 books that speak to the stories. So there's Made to Stick by Chip Heath, and that's very good. And it gives you great examples of how they get the story to actually be remembered. And then Stories That Stick by Kendra Hall. And that's really great too. And she is a storyteller. So she not only gives you stories that resonate with people for sales and marketing, but she also talks a lot about public speaking and how you set up your speech so that people are really enthralled, and how one of the biggest takeaway for me, I think, on that was not to over prepare, like to know your story and then tell your story, not make it a rehearsed recitation, which I
Mm-hmm.
think was it resonated a lot with me. And I think that that's good when you're marketing, you want those testimonials, you want those kinds of things in their own words, not
Mm-hmm.
overly polished. What my friend says, a PR person wrote that, right?
Yeah.
Like
Well,
all the
and
perfect keywords.
so it has to be an authentic story because you cannot tell a story that isn't authentic with your own words. I've read Stories That Stick probably 3 times. Stories That
Mm-hmm.
Stick is a great book for people who are looking to create that in their own business. So
Mm-hmm.
thank you for bringing up that book.
Interesting. And I listened to it on audiobooks, and I often wish maybe I still will buy the book, because there were things that I wanted to take notes about.
It's a really good book to learn how to sell. So my
Sure.
second story I was going to tell you, because, I'm a storyteller. There is this podcast-thon, which is an international event that happens in February where podcasters from around the globe choose a charity of their choice, and they highlight that charity in an episode during the week of podcast-thon. So
Okay.
hundreds of podcasts all that week are sharing or spotlighting a charity. And last year I highlighted Aha Broadway, which is a nonprofit that brings the arts to children, veterans, and differently abled folks in New York City, but also across the globe because you can do anything virtually now. And I haven't chosen my charity for 2026 yet, but I am absolutely going to do it again because participating in that cause felt really good. And
Right.
the organizers, Podcast-thon, they make it a lot of fun. I mean, they have mixers, and you're mixing with, I could meet a podcaster from France or Italy or South America, and it's just really, it's a lot of fun, and it broadens my horizons, and I just really enjoy it. Right. So I'm absolutely going to do it again. But that's a kind of a cause marketing. It's a short amount of
Definitely
time,
is.
and it's
Right.
hitching my wagon on somebody else's band.
Those built-in opportunities are great to seize because they have collaborative support. A lot of people are doing it, so it's helping your marketing exponentially. So when a lot of people are talking about it, then you get a critical mass going, oh, I want to check in on this. Oh, is that podcast? Is the podcast I'm listening to doing that? Okay, that's cool because I love her. So what is she supporting? I want to support that. So you're lending your influence to these causes. And so throughout your year, you have opportunities like that. Here in Long Beach, I live in Long Beach, California, and we have a day of giving. And it's almost 300 nonprofits participate in it. It's called Long Beach Gives, and everybody's raising money on the same day. And they do it there's early giving that starts a week early. But the big day, everybody's out there talking about Long Beach Gives and getting support. And so it's an online platform where everybody can give. And at the last day, I always go shopping because you can fill your cart. Like I want to give $25 to them and $100 to them and $50 to them.
Yeah.
I have way too much money that I've spent. But it's contagious. And it's fun, and you feel super good about doing it. And a huge awareness issue. Like we have 300 nonprofits that participate. That's not all the nonprofits. Mm-mm. Like how many nonprofits can 500,000 people support and is needed, right? Mm-hmm. It's very interesting, right? And then they haven't divided up by the different kinds of things that they support by arts or mental health or children or performing arts, etc. The other thing that you can do your own day of giving. You can do that on your own. It's not quite as impactful as getting that synergy from everybody else, but you could do, and I have a client that does their one day of giving. So it's like a telethon. Mm-hmm. And they have a big enough membership in their organization that works. So everybody's just calling and getting sponsors for that one day. It's very exciting. They're posting, it's the thermometer building sort of hype. And they have a couple of matching gifts. Matching gifts are huge. Mm-hmm. So even, your podcast-a-thon, if you got your local bank to put up $1,000 to match for your listeners for every, up to $1,000 that they give, that's a huge incentive. And it lends a lot of credibility. If you got, somebody who you work with all the time supports you and they put up that money, and then other people go, wow, if her bank is supporting her, this is legit. Mm-hmm. I'm not getting catfish. This isn't going to something else. It's legit because there's this credibility factor now. And people, they want to support a winner. Mm-hmm. So they're like, it's not like I'm going to be one of 10. I mean, one of a lot, or one of 10 giving $10, right? One of 10 giving $100. Now we have something going here. This is exciting. I'm going to tell 10 of my friends. Mm-hmm. And gosh, you know what? I could do a matching gift. I have a business. I love her. I'm going to do that. What if I do $500? I'm going to call her right now. Wow. Right. So it's those kinds of builds. And then there's built in, we have a small business Saturday. That's a great time for small businesses to tie in a charity into their day of shopping. Mm-hmm. Like donate your change. Even that makes a difference. Like, donate $1. You can do that at the grocery store for different charities. That's an easy give. Yeah. And when people are buying for others, during that time, they're much more likely to do that. Or buy this little bear. We're doing a drive for children with cancer, and we're bringing them all a teddy bear to the cancer ward, December 1st. And then Giving Tuesday, another one built right in, right? Just as a business, you can lead a fundraiser for your favorite charity that, again, aligns with your mission and your values, your client base, and the data, right? So make sure all of those things, you look at all of those things so it doesn't seem really strange, really mismatched. And I see
again,
mismatched
things. Alignment is so
total
important.
Alignment. Yes.
When we lived in Texas, we used to shop at H-E-B, and H-E-B always had a barrel to collect canned goods. All year long. It's always there. And we would just drop cans in the barrel and then leave the store. Because it was easy to put food in and we did it almost every single time we went grocery shopping. So that is a mission-aligned drive. Let's, while you're feeding your family, you can also feed somebody else's family. And, it's no big deal to drop 2 cans into a barrel and it accumulates, right? Mission-aligned. So we have covered what not to do with cause marketing. We've talked a little bit about how to do cause marketing, but let's bring this to the solopreneur. A small business, one person business, how do they incorporate cause marketing?
First, you find that alignment, right? You find that alignment, you pick that charity, and then you use your network however you're already using your network. So if I were to do something for my favorite charity, which I do for Long Beach Gives, I'll do a mini fundraiser for one of my clients that's child abuse prevention and treatment. So I create my own online fundraiser, which I use that platform, but you can do a Facebook fundraiser on your own that benefits that charity, and you just set it up. It's super simple. You let the charity know you're doing it, because sometimes their end just shows a donation. It doesn't give them the names. So work with them, because they want to send a thank you to that person, to those people that you got too. And then you send a thank you right away. You'll get a notice that so-and-so made a donation. Send it out through your e-newsletter, put it on your social media, go to your regular networking meetings. That's a chamber of commerce or a business development meeting or an industry meeting, and tell everybody what you're doing. Make some phone calls. I'm doing this. I'd love it if you join me. That personal appeal makes a big difference. And have a couple of donations lined up right at the beginning, right? So I'm going to go live. Can you make a $100 donation? Can you match my $100 donation or my $250 donation at the get-go? Just so I hit my goal as soon as possible, and it shows momentum and people are excited. It's not sitting there at zero and they don't want to be the first one and feeling embarrassed. So you line up all your ducks. I would also ask my local businesses if I could put a flyer in their window, maybe with a QR code that would lead to the Facebook fundraiser or some other direct fundraising mechanism to the charity I chose. Table tents in some of the restaurants, and they've done that for me before for other projects. Even if you don't raise a lot of money, you've raised awareness. So it takes a while for people to go, oh yes, I'm comfortable giving to this organization. And the rule of 7 prevails. You want to contact people 7 times before it hits them. And so that can be a layered approach. You could send a letter in the mail as well. I'm doing this. If you want to send me a check, that's fine. Or here's a QR code, whatever you're comfortable with. Knowing your audience, because if you have people who are 60 and over, they still have checks. Venmo is weird to them. Zelle might be weird to them. And they're uncomfortable giving their credit card online. So all within good reason, right?
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So knowing that there's that population who may, be very supportive of the organization, but are not comfortable with these newfangled ways to give, then give them that option to give how they're comfortable. Mm-hmm. So much of it is about meeting your client where they are. And spelling out a story. Why are you raising money or raising awareness for this organization, or, collecting teddy bears or diapers or a formula, whatever it is? Why are you doing that? Why is this special to you? And so putting that on your website, putting that in your social media, putting that, a couple different links on your link tree that, lead back either to the story, maybe a video, put something on YouTube. There's so many ways for you to get the message out there, and, take advantage of all of the channels you have. If you write for Medium, put it in an article in Medium of why this is an important thing to do, and then do a case study. I did this and this is how it turned out. This is what I do better. You can follow my lead, whatever. And if you want to give to this organization, there you go.
If the audience, if you're listening to this and the only thing you take away is how to do a case study, I swear that is the number one. It's a hang up for me. Case studies is a hang up for me. You just gave us the formula.
Right.
You gave us the formula on how to do a case study. It's 3 steps.
Yes. Well, it's funny too, because I just, in my e-newsletter last night, I was writing a story. I had 3 weird experiences with printers last week, 3 different printers. The point of the story is be transparent with your customers. And I was writing this story, and at one point I'm like, blah, 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 me. Nobody's going to read this. And I went, I'm too tired at this point to rewrite this. I just have to send it. Well, first thing this morning, Leslie, that was excellent. I can't believe that happened. I enjoyed reading it so much. What great stories you had to tell. I'm like, okay, great validation. Mm-hmm. She's getting a thank you note in the mail.
Yeah.
Right?
Never underestimate the power of a thank you card in the mail.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And that I wrote the story because at one point I'm like, nobody cares about Leslie and her printing mishaps, but they do. Go to my website and subscribe.
What's your website for the audience?
Oh, it's McCormickLA.com.
And that will be in the show notes, y'all.
Thank you.
Okay, so how are we growing our businesses in 2026 through cause marketing? Because to me, it sounded like a lot of give, but how do we grow?
Right. So then, so you have this image element, and so then you have to leverage that into, the call to action. So and another thing that I didn't mention, which is kind of surprising because it's a good portion of my business, is writing a press release about what you're doing. And so in that press release, make sure that the about section is about your business. Don't get lost in it. So you want to make sure when you're promoting it, it's, Leslie Smith, founder of McCormick LA Public Relations, a 30-year veteran of marketing and PR, is launching this benefit for breast cancer research. It's going to go beyond the awareness. Breast cancer research. She's showing gratitude for the treatment that she had on the shoulders of so many other women who had much more harrowing experiences and wants to show appreciation, She helps many nonprofits with their cause marketing, blah, 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 blah. So you want to intertwine your own story and what you do about things similar. And then when you're talking to people, thank you for participating. First, your number one is you're thanking the people who participated and supported you. And I'd love to talk to you about your business. I know you've subscribed to my e-newsletter for several years now. I appreciate the donation you made to this cause. It's great. And, it's going to make a huge difference. How can I help you? These are some of the services I offer. Can we meet for a coffee? So those are your number one, because they already did something. They already contributed to your cause. So you contact them first. And if they're not already clients. And if they are, and client, of course, you're thanking your clients too. With your clients, how can you expand that business? So what else can we do? For years now, I've just been doing your media relations, but I know you have more going on. What is going on with your other digital products? I see that you sometimes post some things on LinkedIn, but not consistently. And are you blogging? Is there an e-newsletter that goes out? I don't even know. Like, this was our one entry point, but how else can I help you? So making those one-on-one connections to your existing clients, how you can do more, and not yet clients, introducing how you can help them. And they'll be impressed by what you did in that campaign for your cause. Like, I can do that for you too. So you do that. And then the cold calls, the people that you sometime maybe are also at the chamber lunch or something, but you don't work with, then you just go, hey, I hope you saw my invitation to participate in blah, blah, blah. I hope I can count on your support next year. Something like that. So you're bridging that. And, that's one of 7 times you're going to reach out to them and keep going from there.
I turned a nonprofit into a client once by doing some charitable work for them. There's 2 things you brought up that a lot of solopreneurs neglect.
Yes.
Press releases and blogging.
Yes.
First of all, I don't think a lot of solopreneurs truly understand it is an extremely powerful piece of your marketing that not very many people do anymore because they think newspapers are dead, right?
Right.
And then blogging. So in any order you want, talk about both of those things.
Sure. So I'll talk about the press release first. So it's still the number one tool for news media to receive information. And that goes for print, TV, and radio. And all of those things are still relevant. And they operate differently, but they're still relevant. And you get the bonus of them also having digital channels, right? So the press, this was in fall of 2025, we helped promote the LA Ukulele Festival. Super fun. And it wasn't, and that was a new client for me, but he had been doing this for several years. And yeah, super great. And I follow all these ukulele players now.
That is so much fun.
It's lovely. And it's a lovely vibe. Everybody's very chill and just, it's really good. Yes, it's a great environment. The festival was wonderful, and I just went for a few hours, but it was great. But so this was an unusual situation where we didn't get any print. That's usually first, right? And so we didn't get print, but we were on our local CBS affiliate at the lunchtime hour, 5-minute segment.
Wow.
So
5 minutes
right?
is a long time. Yeah.
Yes, it was huge. So we went out to Studio City, and he brought one of the artists that was going to perform, and Mitchell Chang, he's the founder, and the two of them taught the news anchor how to play ukulele. And then we can take that and share that all over and talk about validation and credibility. You had 5 minutes on the news. Mm-hmm. That's big, mm-hmm. especially in our market. People forget Los Angeles is a huge media market.
Did CBS give you permission to clip it down into 60 seconds?
I don't think we even clipped it down.
Okay.
I think we just, there was it would play for so long. And then it was linked in other things. Okay. And then it was in the e-newsletter, the other things that he sends out. And then the other thing that we did, which I do think helped, which this is side note to the press release, is we gave a kit to his vendors. He has like sales vendors and food vendors that, mm-hmm. and you can access that for free without actually going into the festival. So we gave them each a kit of, these are the emails you should send out and when. So they help promote it. Anytime you can get exponential promotion is good. But that press release is still, that's the main tool. So people think it's, old. Yeah. It's traditional, but it's still the tool that they use. So that's what we use. He was mm-hmm. also on a radio station off of a college campus. So but getting the news was huge, even when we didn't get the print, which was highly unusual.
Yeah.
But typically you'll get a couple of stories, right? And most of the stuff I do is pretty hyper local. Unless they're a performer, they're not coming from Minnesota to go to the LA Ukulele Festival, mm-hmm. right? But he had performers all over. It was an international festival. So he had Canada and Brazil and
fun.
Amazing. Super fun. Super fun.
How fun.
So blogging is so important to keep the content on your website fresh. So the algorithm for the search engine optimizations, they want to find activity. So when you are updating with blog posts, then it sees that activity and it sees the visitors there and it wants to move you up into its search engine optimization, because the search engine wants you to find what you're looking for, right? And so any of those little things that make it go, oh, this is a good website, are going to make it give your name out to the whoever's looking for it. So, and then think of those when you're doing those blogs, think of the problem that you're solving and incorporate those keywords. People go to Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever to find something out. So they say, how do you play ukulele? So you want a blog post called, how do you play ukulele? And then go through that and use that same phrase a couple times in the blog post, because that way the algorithm is thinking and finding those exact words. They want to make as exact a match as possible. So just go through and be super mindful about what people are looking for and then match that. Alignment. I think the theme today was alignment, Candace, don't you?
Alignment. Very, very important. All right.
Yes.
We have covered a lot today. Thank you very much. I always enjoy talking to PR people. People who understand public relations have their thumb on marketing in a way that the folks that just do social media or whatnot don't really understand. So it is in my opinion, it's the most important piece of the marketing puzzle.
Thank you for saying that.
But your image means everything, and that's public relations. What are we letting the public know, and how are we letting them know?
And so don't wait for a crisis to call a PR person.
Oh, yeah.
That's a huge mistake people make.
Yeah. Leslie Smith, this is your moment of gratitude. When you think about your career in public relations and cause marketing, what is one moment that you are most thankful for?
So when I moved back down to Southern California to get married, and that was when my husband, I go, oh my gosh, I have to find another job. I had moved to Sacramento for a job with a statewide association. And then it was not quite a year. I go, oh, I have to find another job again. And I wanted to take that job, but it was 94 and things were different. And he said, what do you want to do in 5 years? And I said, well, I'd like to have my own shop. He goes, well, why don't you do that now? And so that's when I started my business. And so I'm like, I can pull together money to buy a computer and a printer and get some business cards. So that's probably that was a moment, a turning point.
Thanks for tuning in to Gratitude Geek. Gratitude is a business strategy. Our theme music is by Rev Brock and Sola Lee. To connect with Leslie Smith, be sure to check out the show notes. This is episode 302. All of her links are in the show notes. I've been your host, Candace Rodarty. Stay groovy, my friends.
Stay groovy, my friends.